morning. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Adam Minor, and this is GBS News 9 coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. We have a lot lined up for you, but first we are going to start off with the stories making headlines. President William Ruto has today nominated the first batch of cabinet secretaries to replace those fired in a landmark announcement on the 11th of July 2024, following weeks of youth-led anti-government protests. The head of state, in a press address at State House, said the 11 nominations followed consultations across the political divide in an attempt to bring back peace and sanity to the country. Here are the details.
President William Ruto has named his new cabinet members nominees. Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. The move comes after pressure mounted on the president to pick competent people who will help him deliver on his agenda.
I am continuing to undertake consultations across the political divide on the balance of cabinet that I will appoint shortly. The consultations are at an advanced stage, and internal processes in various sectors are underway to facilitate my appointment of the balance of this cabinet.
The Attorney General candidate and the Cabinet Secretary nominees are Professor Kithure Kindiki for Ministry of Interior and National Administration, Dr. Deborah Mulongo Baraza for Ministry of Health, Alice Wahome for Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. For Ministry of Education, the President picked Julius Migosi Ogamba. Honorable Eden Duale will be maintaining the Ministry of Defense, replacing Mithika Lenturi. Dr. Andrew Mihia Karanja will be taking over the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Rosalinda Soipan-Tuya will be maintaining the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Eric Murithi Muga will be the new face of Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, replacing Kipchumba Murkomen. Davis Chirchir will now head the Ministry of Roads and Transport. Dr. Margaret Nyambura Ndung'u will now head the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. And finally, Rebecca Miano will now occupy the office of the Attorney General. The new nominees will have to undergo vetting before consideration for appointment as cabinet secretaries. Kenyans have expressed diverse opinions over the cabinet appointments made today. Majority expressed reservations with the appointments of the 5 CS making a comeback, arguing they expected a new lineup.
Nyani ni wale wale. Kwa sababu the president actually kama angekuwa anatumia mawazo ambayo iko very free, hangerudisha more than 3 people kwa ile cabinet ya zamani.
Sisi kama jenzi tumekataa kabisa, hatutaki wasee kwa cabinet. Au wasee wamewekwa waondolewe na jenzi iwekwe. Jenzi siku hizi ndio wanaongoza. The government belongs to the jenzi. Sisi ndio tuko na power.
The comeback ya Kindiki, it was somehow expected because at least tulikuwa tunaona kazi yenye ilikuwa inafanyika. Though kulingana na jenzi ama kulingana na maoni ya wengi, kuna hawa wenye walikuwa wanakaa wakianika tumbo zao. Akina Murkomen and ETC hao, kwangu in case the second batch watakuwa inaweza leta tatizo, ama kwangu naona those are part of the incompetence wenye wamechangia hali mbaya ya uchumi.
Kitu wamefanya haijaniridhisha because sijaona pale mama mboga fulani, sijaona mtu anduthi mahali as we expected. At least Kithure Kindiki is right on his position.
Some of the nominees, including Duale and Soipan-Tuya, have on their social platforms thanked the head of state for the chance to serve the people of Kenya. Hilary Kabila, GBS News, Nairobi.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has once again disagreed with the formation of a board-based government with Azimio. The former vice president, who is also the co-principal in Azimio, addressed the press at Wiper Party headquarters in Nairobi today. The former vice president also stated that Azimio's step to join the government will be a betrayal to Kenyans. But at the same time, President William Ruto has insisted on the formation of a broad-based government to promote inclusivity, as Davis Karani now reports.
He insisted on the formation of a broad-based government aimed to promote inclusivity in the country. The head of state has cited on the importance of national unity since this will promote development within the country. Releasing his first batch of cabinet secretaries at State House, Nairobi, the head of state has said that the new administration he is forming will show the entire face of Kenya.
The crisis has presented us with a greater opportunity as a nation to craft a broad-based and inclusive citizen coalition for national transformation and progress, made up of all Kenyans from all walks of life. It cannot be denied that our nation has been in a crisis caused by multiple and complex factors. Neither can we turn away from recognizing that the opportunity before us is greater than the crisis. Together, we have a chance to take our country where we all want it to be.
On the other side, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has maintained his stand that as Azimio la Umoja, they will not betray Kenyans by joining the Kenya Kwanza administration through the suggested broad-based government unless the conditions released by Odinga on the formation of a convention team and not a dialogue team as President Ruto suggested. The former vice president, who seemed to be dependent on Odinga's stand, said they'll always defend the Gen Z.
We shall not join for the straightforward reason that such actions are betrayal of the ideology, values and tenets of both our coalition party and our constituent parties. As long as the Kenya Kwanza regime remain in place, absolutely nothing will change. A cabinet reorganization and changing of office holders will only be cosmetic. Unless, and I want to add this, unless that new cabinet will take place after what, and this is something we need to really reflect on, after what our leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, has called a convention. A convention.
Kenya's opposition party, led by the opposition chief Raila Odinga, is at its breaking point after a disagreement among its principals, which has escalated by Wednesday incident at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Memorial Center in Nairobi, which saw Kalonzo's address interrupted by the goons minutes after Raila left the venue in a sheer disagreement. The division came out when Odinga agreed on the formation of a task force which was to be given a responsibility of gathering public opinion on the changes that Kenyans wanted to be done in the Kenya Kwanza administration, which the opposition co-principal Kalonzo Musyoka and some other leaders in Azimio la Umoja were against. Here are the details.
This is the incident that sealed the official separation in the opposition. The flying of chairs, the push and pull between the individuals, and the evacuation of leaders at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Memorial Center in Nairobi. Before the dramatic incident, Odinga and his counterparts in Azimio were reading from different scripts. Odinga proposing for a dialogue team formation to solve the issues affecting the country, while a team led by the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka objecting Odinga's opinion and maintaining their stand on urging President William Ruto to officially quit the office.
Kufanya mazungumzo na watu wanawaua. Wangapi anasema mazungumzo tawe?
According to the statistics, Odinga's stand on the formation of a dialogue could later breed to a creation of a joint government which both President Ruto's side and the opposition will benefit in terms of ministerial position after President Ruto dissolved his cabinet while Kalonzo Musyoka's team was gearing for the resignation of the president, which according to the constitution, Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was officially to take over, while a move by Kalonzo's team is believed to be lifted by the DP, who has been in poor terms with his boss. A day later, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, NARC Kenya's Martha Karua, the DAP Kenya Eugene Wamalwa, the Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, NARC leader Charity Ngilu, and Enoch Wambua conducted a meeting in Westlands in the absence of Odinga, a meeting which has clearly brought out the reality in the giant opposition party. Going by the recent events, an Azimio split based on ideologies and interests is imminent, and it is just a matter of time. Who will break the ice for this political marriage? Where is the common man in this? Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
The Anglican Church of Kenya has urged the youth to suspend their anti-government protest and give President William Ruto time to implement their demands. Speaking at a press conference, ACK Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit emphasized that the president has already started implementing some of the demands, including the firing of his cabinet, signing of the IEBC Amendment Bill 2024 into law, and the resignation of police boss Japhet Koome. Here are the details. Clergy members of the Anglican Church of Kenya have pleaded to the youthful anti-government protesters in the country, urging them to cease demonstrations and allow President William Ruto the necessary time to respond to their grievances. The clergy, led by ACK Archbishop Joseph Ole Sapit, praised the protesters for their significant impact on the Kenya Kwanza administration. They specifically noted achievements such as the dismissal of the cabinet and the subsequent appointment of a new police inspector general following the resignation of Japhet Koome.
We appeal to protesters to suspend protest and give government time to attend to the raft of demands, some of which the president has begun to address, including firing most of his cabinet secretaries, signing of the IEBC Amendment Bill 2024 into law, and the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, among others.
Archbishop Sapit also condemned recent attacks on media personality, saying that every Kenyan has the right to information. The ACK added that it will continue to monitor progress and demand that all commitments are implemented.
And implement the raft of measures which are demanded by the protesters and the general public, including cutting government expenditure and wage bill, reducing the size of government, and prioritizing essential services.
As the nation navigates these pivotal times, Archbishop Sapit expressed hope for continued dialogue and constructive engagement in the pursuit of a better Kenya for all its citizens. Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. On that note, let us take our very first break. We'll be right back.
Because those people, let's commend them on their qualities and their music videos. Quality na top notch.
Kwa artist atakuwa msanii. Usiingie usiende kwa studio kwanza kurecord ngoma bila kuwa educated about music. Juu sasa utaingia hapo record ngoma yako vizuri alafu hiyo utakuwa umegain kila kitu but pia label uyachangi hivyo. Yeah, we helped you so you are supposed to
do something.
Yeah.
Kiingia unapewa contract. Unajua contract inakonga between two parties. Mnaagria under one thing, kila mtu analeta interest zake, then mnaangalia vile mtapata.
We have talent in the ghettos but manze usanii ni ngumu, designer wise endelea.
Manze mimi niliona movie ya Kenya je. Na movie ilikuwa ina trend. Walitumia Land Rover hizi za kitambo, hizi chuma, hizi
mtu akisenza audio kitu ni ya uongo.
Umeelewa kabisa.
Form 1 kuna mseme hando akasema ni artist. Akaambia kuja hapa bro. Unichore pilipili na ukali yake.
But the pilipili part sawa, but now how the ukali part.
Everywhere, GBS.
Now, for our viewers, they've had this over the past few weeks. Actually, can you try to break down this? What is this called endometriosis?
Back and they say, if you're having painful periods, please take it like a woman, which I think is a very wrong thing.
Is there a particular age grouping among women that experience this so much? Or it's just for at any time of age life?
In our area of the world, we tend to find more severe forms because of poor health-seeking behavior. So if you have a problem, please don't spend forever before you come starting to look for help.
Viewer who is asking, what is the relationship between endometriosis and ovarian cancer? Many people confuse to be just a painful menses rather than endo. So how can you differentiate the two?
The story that this lady comes with. So what's the background story? How long has this pain been there? Has it been getting worse? Is it pain in just one space, or is it pain in very many other places as well? How has it developed over time?
And how are the patients when you meet them?
Thank you for that very important question. In fact, I think that's actually one of the key things we need to discuss in today's interview.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. The Kenyan government, through the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, has formally written to the Ford Foundation, alleging that some of its grants totaling to $5.78 million US, approximately 752 million, between April 2023 and May 2024, are fueling ongoing protests in the country. The letter, addressed to Ford Foundation President Darren Walker and dated July 18, 2024, lists 16 entities that received the funding, including Africa Uncensored Limited, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and Transparency International. In the letter, the government demands comprehensive details on grantees, approved programs, budgets, and disbursements. This follows President William Ruto's accusations that the foundation is funding anti-government protests, alleging that the Ford Foundation has denied. Susan Ganga with the full report.
The government, through the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, has officially written to the Ford Foundation, claiming, or rather suggesting, that some grants released by the American organization is fueling the ongoing demonstrations in the country. In a letter addressed to Mr. Darren Walker and dated July 18, 2024, highlights that between April 2023 and May 2024, several non-state recipients, including Africa Uncensored Limited, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and Transparency International, received a total of $5.78 million from the Ford Foundation. The letter went ahead and listed 16 entities that received funding from the foundation. In response, the Kenyan government is demanding the Ford Foundation to provide comprehensive details on its grantees, include approved programs, budgets, and disbursements over the past year. Additionally, reports from the grantees outlining their activities, cost, and beneficiaries has also been requested. This scrutiny follows President Ruto's earlier accusations, blaming the Ford Foundation for funding nationwide anti-government protest.
Have no use for anarchy and violence and destruction of property and loss of life. Wale ambao wanasponsor hiyo violence, sisi tunawajua. And I want to call out those who are behind the anarchy in Kenya, those who are behind the sponsoring the chaos in the Republic of Kenya. Shame on them, because they are sponsoring violence against our democratic nation. Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation, watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani? We are going to call them out and we are going to tell them, if they are not interested in democracy in Kenya, if they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
On Tuesday, the US-based foundation rejected these allegations. Established in 1936 by Edsel Ford, the foundation operates globally with a mission to advance social justice and promote democratic values. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Siaya Governor James Orengo today ordered the immediate release of more than 9.8 million Kenya shillings that the county government has owed its nurses for the close to 3 years. According to Orengo, it was unfair to withhold the nurses 2-month salaries for the period that they participated in an industrial strike way back in 2021. He said that the fact that a return to work formula was signed and even the Industrial and Labor Relations Court ruled in favor of the nurses was enough to have the county government pay the outstanding dues. Governor Orengo was speaking at the county headquarters while addressing the nurses who had marched to the office to press for the payment. The nurses who had earlier taken to the streets to press for a solution to their demands as the leaders engaged in a closed-door meeting with the governor and senior county government officials. The Kenya National Union of Nurses, Siaya Branch Executive Secretary Sylvester Nganda, said the nurses had virtually hit a dead end in fighting for their dues after the previous administration refused to honor a return to work formula and a court order that they be paid for the period they had down their tools.
I know what has brought us here is simple and straightforward. Kwa sababu tukiweka maswali nyingi na story nyingi na jibu ni kitu moja tu. Ndio nikaomba kwamba mimi ndio niongee. Kwa sababu tukienda kwa mambo ya protocol mtu atasema hii atasema hii. Lakini swali ni moja peke yake. Na mimi kwanza nataka niseme nina shukrani kwenu kabisa. Kwa sababu hili jambo ni haki yenu. You are not coming here to beg. You are not coming here to beg. Now, if I was in your place, I would have said you come and occupy your headquarters. Kwa sababu hii kitu, it is from 2021. Na ni hela zenyu. Ya pili kwa hiyo maneno, hii ya malipo, unajua kitu ya kushangaza, ni kwamba hiyo hela, si hela ambapo haikuwaiko. The money was there from 2021. So in the name of accountability, lazima we must determine where your money went. We have to find out. Tukitaka kukomesha mambo kama hayo, lazima tujue ilikuwa ni nini imetokea. Ikafanya miaka miwili, si karibu miaka mitatu. Hiyo lazima tupate majibu. Jambo la pili kwa mambo ya promotions. Nataka ni wajulishe kwamba CEO wa County Public Service Board pia yuko hapa. Hii mambo ya promotions is cutting across all the cadres. And they did a paper which you have generally approved. Is a question of budgeting. So I am asking you, and me, I don't want wasting time on these things. I come from a human rights pillar in my legal practice. So when
without us going out for those strikes, where we have reached, the nurses walisema punda ame walikula. So I'm happy that you have come to the fore today. Nurses here. Nurses here. Nurses killing. This is because largely we've been having talks round and round without solutions. We've been having promises that we've been taking to our nurses. They've been gracious enough to understand us.
The government has beefed up security at Mara Lemek Conservancy following wrangles between the two warring parties who are opposed to the construction of a camp in the area. Trouble began when a private investor leased 10 acres of land from landowners to build a camp at the heart of the conservancy. Meanwhile, the government has set out an ambitious plan to eradicate malaria in the country by 2030. According to the Health Ministry, the country's malaria prevalence stands at 6%, with efforts now in place to bring down the numbers to the barest minimum. Here is Tabitha Nyarinda with more.
The Conservancy Board, led by Dennis Olemako, sharply opposed the construction, citing violations of the Masai Mara Management Plan, claiming the camp is situated in critical animal corridors and breeding areas under conservation guidelines, highlighting that the Conservancy benefits over 300 families from the profits accrued.
Lengo letu kuu hapa Lemek Conservancy, vile mliambiwa, ni eneo ambayo tunafanya hifadhi. Kulingana na sheria ya Conservancy, tunasema ya kwamba 70% ya wafanyikazi ikuwe ni wenye eneo hii. Lakini yule mtu kitu ya kwanza analeta watu wa nje tu kuandika. Yeye hataki kufuata ile mpangilio. Conservancy hajapea yeye ruhusa. Nemo hajapea ruhusa because they are government organs and agencies ambayo anapeana license ya kujenga lodge.
Another session of landowners led by Musa Namapaso supported the investor, saying he had lawfully purchased the land for development, accusing the board members of interfering with the investor, saying he had followed all the legal path to develop the camp.
Pale hiyo mtu anajenga, tulikuwa mkutano jana kwa ofisi ya county commissioner, akiwa na security team yake yote. Na hawa alikuwa anadanganya, hakuna mkutano pale. Wale ambayo waliungana kufanya conservation pale walikuwa kwa muda. Mwaniki alikuja hapo 2005 ama 2009. Huyo ako right na ako na community ambayo anamsupport.
Narok County Commissioner Lotiata Kipkech called on the landowners and investor to resolve their issues in a harmonious way to favor all parties, saying this is the peak season for tourists to flock the Masai Mara Game Reserve, reporting that 2 people had been arrested for causing commotion at the camp and will be charged accordingly.
Madai ambayo walisemwa hapo si ya ukweli. Madai ya kwamba kuna watu ambao kikundi ambao wanapendelea sio ukweli, kwa sababu sisi ile kitu tunajua tu, tumeeleza watu wa Mara Conservancy wafanye kazi yao kwa amani, kushambulia na kuharibu mambo ya wageni kutembelea kule Mara. Hii ni msimu ya utalii na hatutakubali yote ambaye atakuja kuchukua sheria mikononi yake. Mambo ya kuweka mabarabara ama kuweka vizuizi kwa barabara tutashughulikia, na serikali itafanya kazi yake. Mtu yote ambaye atafanya mambo ya kiuka mambo ya sheria na mambo ya haribu yote aina yote, mali ya yote, mtu yote ama kumdhuru mtu yote.
Mama, unahakikisha.
Meanwhile, Public Health and Professional Standards PS Mary Mudhoni says the government, in aims to eradicate malaria, is distributing 15 million nets across 22 counties that are greatly affected by malaria, translating to about 25 million Kenyans who are at risk. In a campaign in Kilifi, where PS Mudhoni led a government delegation in issuance of nets, targeting about 200,000 households, she noted that so far, 14 counties have benefited from the program.
Hii neti si ya kuuza. Tafadhali, neti ni ya kuwekelea juu ya kitanda na wewe unalala ndani yake na mbu nje.
There's distribution of the nets, but there's also what you can do at the household to ensure that you prevent malaria. And one of the ways is clearing the bushes, draining the water logged around your households, and of course sleeping under the net.
Elsewhere, Prime Cabinet Secretary and CS Foreign and Diaspora Affairs His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi launches the TVET SIDAC Strategic Plan 2023-2027 in Gigiri, Kenya School of TVET and releases the March-April 2024 assessment results.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my opportunity to say that by the powers vested in me by the TVET Act, number 29 of 2013, and Executive Order number 1 of 2022, I officially release the March-April 2024 assessment results and declare the TVET SADC Strategic Plan officially launched. God bless you and thank you so much.
During the launch, Mudavadi stated that the sector is important in the overall government's strategic direction of ensuring youth employment, highlighting that the skills acquired guarantee the competitiveness of the youth in an evolving global economy. He also emphasized that regardless of mistakes that have been made in the past, the community should hold on to the country. He urged peace and stability going forward for easy operation and also encouraged the people not to take it for granted, but to take corrective measures.
We have a country to protect. Let us work together. We have made mistakes along the way. And don't be cheated. We will also make mistakes as we go forward. For as long as you're a human being, once in a while you stumble. Our forefathers were there. They did what they did. You cannot say they never made mistakes. They did make mistakes. But they held on to the country. We are here today. We shall make our mistakes, all of us. But the country must not go down with our mistakes. As we reform, as we put the corrective measures in place going forward, our key anchor must be peace and stability so that that environment can be conducive for everybody to go about their activities. But I can tell you, there's no peace in Sudan today. So let's not, as a community, as a society, take our peace and stability for granted.
Tabitha Nyarinda, GBS News.
In a call for peace and stability, Haiti's Prime Minister Gary Conille has urged gangs to surrender their weapons and recognize the authority of the state amidst ongoing violence in the nation's capital, Port-au-Prince, with reports indicating that gangs control around 80% of the capital. Conille's plea comes days after powerful gang leader Barbecue called for a national dialogue to address the current crisis, and here is more on the same.
In the nation, Prime Minister Conille highlighted the dire situation in Port-au-Prince, where everyday life has become a battle for survival due to rampant gang violence. His call for gangs to surrender their weapons and recognize the state's authority reflects a desperate plea for peace and stability in the country. Barbecue, a prominent gang leader, had previously accused the Prime Minister of failing to engage in dialogue with his alliance.
Let's focus on the solution. The real solution is a national dialogue where every Haitian, without discrimination, has a right to speak. And that's what the mafia doesn't want. They don't wish dialogue because they want to continue their war. They don't want dialogue because they don't.
The Prime Minister's call for peace comes as a multinational security support mission, including police officers from Kenya, Chad, and Benin, is deployed to help local authorities restore security. With the deployment of additional personnel from various countries, the international community is joining forces to combat the escalating gun violence in Haiti and pave the way for a safer and more secure future for its citizens.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our new segment tonight. But first, let us take a quick commercial break.
Komoni Titus. Jina langu la usanii ni Nathcom Arts. I'm a painting artist, a self-taught painting artist.
It's a very big business in Nairobi.
Sure.
So nini unekanga different, unekanga art yako hapo kwa hiyo bed ama unekanga aje?
What I need for me to do painting on canvas. Yeah, to be precise. He introduced me to doing painting on canvas.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I should what I need for me to do painting on canvas.
Umetuambia your mentor for paintings ni Jose Arts.
Yeah.
Mentor wako wa furniture na wood ni nani?
First of all, I'm a fan of nature. And everything that I paint to do with nature must be something I've experienced.
Oh, okay.
So most of the time when I'm doing any painting to do with nature, huwa na try kuonyesha or maybe to express my experiences.
Utatuonesha pia hiyo clock venye it's really really amazing, the clock. Unapenda hii woodwork more. I will explain here.
Yes.
Utaambia watu your social media handles kwanza stock pale kidogo.
In the Bible, it says no flesh shall be justified in his sight by the deeds of the law. Today, many people on Sunday, there are so many people who go to church out of formality and to keep these laws. Why did God send Jesus? Because all of the curse that we were supposed to receive, for Jesus to receive it in our stead. Truly to be saved, is it to do good things or to keep the Ten Commandments? No, it is so far from it. We are people who have already disobeyed it. God did not give the Ten Commandments so that you can be blessed and keep all of them.
Everywhere. GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and now to matters international news. Nigeria averted a wave of strikes with a critical agreement on a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira per month, finally breaking months of deadlock. This breakthrough, announced jointly by the government officials and union leaders, comes as Nigeria faces its worst cost of living crisis in decades. The Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress had pushed hard for the increase, citing its vital role in supporting struggling workers. The new minimum wage, more than double the previous one, also includes a provision for review every 3 years, reflecting a proactive approach to economic uncertainties. Here is more on the same.
Nigeria's labor unions have reached a pivotal agreement with the government, establishing a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira, approximately $44 a month. This decision comes after prolonged negotiations aimed at addressing the severe cost of living crisis affecting millions. The previous wage, set at 30,000 naira, was deemed insufficient amid soaring inflation and economic challenges. Union leaders expressed mixed feelings about the increase, emphasizing the necessity for immediate action despite ongoing economic hardships. The agreement will also allow for wage reviews every 3 years, a shift from the previous 5-year cycle, reflecting the urgent need for adjustments in response to economic conditions.
The African Development Bank has approved $1 billion loan to Transnet, South Africa's state-owned railway and ports operator, to renovate South Africa's ailing transportation infrastructure. This financial injection is part of an ambitious $8.1 billion investment plan aimed at addressing long-standing challenges in the nation's rail and port systems, critical for enhancing economic competitiveness and attracting foreign investment. Here is the full report.
The African Development Bank said on Thursday it had approved a $1 billion loan to South Africa's state-owned railway and ports company, Transnet. The 25-year loan, fully guaranteed by the South African government, is pivotal in kickstarting Transnet's comprehensive investment strategy. In response to the African Development Bank's announcement, Transnet's Group Chief Executive Michelle Phillips underscored the loan's critical role in stabilizing and enhancing the rail network, foreseeing a ripple effect across South Africa's broader economy. President Cyril Ramaphosa, prioritizing economic revival and unemployment reduction amidst a challenging political landscape, views such investments as pivotal in steering South Africa towards sustainable growth. His administration, facing electoral setbacks earlier this year, has been compelled to forge new political alliances, highlighting the urgency of effective economic policies and infrastructure upgrades.
Former Mozambique Finance Minister Manuel Chang has arrived in the courtroom of Brooklyn, New York, as his trial begins over allegations tied to the tuna bond scandal that plunged the country into financial turmoil in 2016. Charged with bribery, fraud, and money laundering, Chang's case highlights international efforts to address corruption and financial misconduct on a global scale. Here are the details.
In the federal court in Brooklyn, Assistant U.S. Attorney Peter Couch asserted that Chang abused his authority for personal gain, engaging in bribery, fraud, and money laundering schemes. He specifically cited $7 million in alleged kickbacks received by Chang himself. The fallout from the scandal has seen multiple convictions, including that of Ndambi Guebuza, son of former President Armando Guebuza. Attempts to prosecute Chang in South Africa were unsuccessful, leading to his extradition to the U.S. in 2023. Chang's defense has sought to dismiss the case on grounds including the applicability of U.S. law and Chang's status as a former foreign official. These arguments were rejected by U.S. District Judge Nicholas Garofis, setting the stage for a potentially landmark trial addressing corruption and international finance.
President Cyril Ramaphosa pledged on Thursday to revive South Africa's flagging economy and extend prosperity into the many left out of it by saving factories and farms, building roads, and seizing the opportunities presented by the green energy. In his first policy speech to a new parliament since the African National Congress lost its ruling majority in May, forcing it to team up with its rivals, Ramaphosa also pledged to get on top of the nation's debt burden. Here is more on the same.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has committed to revitalizing South Africa's struggling economy and ensuring prosperity for all citizens. In his first policy address to the new parliament, he emphasized the need to resuscitate factories and farms, build essential infrastructure, and harness green energy opportunities. Acknowledging the high levels of unemployment and inequality, Ramaphosa vowed to turn the nation into a construction hub, focusing on roads, schools, and hospitals.
We will pursue a smart industrial policy that focuses on the competitiveness of our economy.
He also outlined plans to stabilize the national debt and invest in renewable energy projects, aiming for inclusive growth that benefits the previously marginalized. The president's vision includes a collaborative approach with coalition partners to address the pressing economic challenges facing the country.
Warring parties in the Democratic Republic of Congo have agreed to extend a humanitarian ceasefire that has been in place since July 5th. The U.S. State Department announced on Wednesday that the truce, originally set to expire on Friday, will now last for an additional 15 days until August. This extension aims to reduce ongoing violence and allow humanitarian access to those affected by conflict, particularly in the eastern North Kivu province, which has been severely impacted by fighting among over 100 armed groups, including the M23 rebel group, allegedly supported by Rwanda. Here is the full report.
The latest truce in the decades-long conflict that was to end on Friday has been extended by 15 days until August 3. The U.S. State Department stated in a statement that urged all actors to respect the truce that has been violated since it took effect on July 5. According to Karin Kaneza of the Human Rights Watch, the violence concentrated in the eastern North Kivu province that resulted not just in arbitrary killings and arrests, but also in sexual abuses with women and children affected the most. The decade-long conflict in eastern Congo has produced one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with over 100 armed groups fighting for control of the mineral-rich area near the border with Rwanda. A key actor in the conflict, the M23 group, is allegedly backed by Rwanda. Along with other groups, the rebels are accused of carrying out mass killings in the conflict that has spread from the frontline surrounding villages and displaced at least 7 million people, many beyond the reach of the aid. Aid groups have complained of insufficient resources even for those within their reach. In recent months, people fleeing violence has also had to dodge artillery fire and drone strikes.
A recent study by the World Bank has unveiled a dire mental health crisis among Palestinians, with over half of the adult population exhibiting symptoms of depression. The findings presented in March 2023 reveal that 71% of adults in the Gaza Strip and 58% of the West Bank are affected, highlighting severe psychological toll of prolonged conflict and instability in the region. Here is more on the same.
Anxiety, fear, depression, sleep deprivation, anger and aggression are prevalent, experts and practitioners told the Associated Press. Children are most vulnerable, especially because many parents can barely hold themselves together. There are few resources to help Palestinians process what they are going through.
I never imagined that I would see these things. All that would happen to me when I went to give birth, that I would lose my child and not know where he is. I want my son. I want him back.
A high rate, 46.3% of current mental disorders, was found with rates of current depressive episode, generalized anxiety disorder, and somatization disorder being relatively high in comparison with rates in other countries.
Most of the cases that therapists encounter here in the center are cases of children who suffer from fear and sleep problems, and adults who suffer from insomnia, tension, and extreme anger, as many people no longer have the ability to control themselves.
The psychological impact on war in Gaza in such an environment is immense. People face the dual burden of trying to provide care in severely compromised settings while coping with the constant fear of further attacks.
I have shock. I wake up multiple times because of the shock, and I don't understand what is around me. My children have been affected. My daughter is suffering. She has been affected psychologically. And my sons have started urinating on themselves.
This situation leads to heightened levels of stress, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of helplessness. Constant bombardment, displacement, and loss of family members are predisposing many children to anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other adverse mental health conditions.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. Kenya's Harambee Stars have maintained its position in the latest FIFA ranking, staying at 108th place despite gaining 2.28 points. This follows their participation in the COSAFA Cup tournament held in South Africa, where the performance was mixed. Here are the details.
In the COSAFA Cup tournament, which contributes to the FIFA rankings, Kenya won their opening game against Zambia, but suffered losses to Comoros. They concluded with a victory over Zimbabwe, yet this series of results led Kenya being knocked out in the round-off after a defeat to Comoros, thus missing out on the quarter-finals. Currently, the Harambee Stars need just 1.11 points in the upcoming rankings to surpass Guatemala, who are positioned one place higher. In the CAF rankings, Kenya stands 25th, 4 places behind Uganda, a fellow CECAFA nation that dropped a place due to inactivity in the recent FIFA international window. Meanwhile, Tanzania is edging closer to Kenya in the FIFA ranking, currently standing at 113th place and having gained a spot despite participating in the last window. At the top of the FIFA rankings, reigning world champions Argentina continue to hold the top position following their successful defense of the Copa America title, defeating Colombia in the final. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
Harambee Stars assistant coach Ken Odhiambo was unveiled as the new Bandari FC head coach ahead of the new season that kicks off on August 24th. Odhiambo, who is returning for a third spell with Dockers, will be baptized by John Baraza, who has been at the helm of the team since Tahir Mukhtin was sacked last season. Here is more on the same.
Bandari Football Club has announced that Ken Odhiambo, the assistant coach of Harambee Stars, will take charge of the team starting from the new Football Kenya Federation Premier League season 2024-2025. Odhiambo, who is returning for his third spell with the Dockers, will be assisted by John Baraza, who has been managing the team since Tahir Muhyiddin was dismissed last season. Jeremy Onyango, who has been serving as both the goalkeeper trainer and assistant to Baraza, will now focus solely on his role as the head coach in goalkeeping. Odhiambo's appointment comes on the backdrop of a requirement that Premier League coaches should possess a CAF license. John Baraza is a CAFB graduate. On his part, Odhiambo said that he was confident with the current Bandari FC playing unit, adding that they can lift their first ever league title next season. Bandari FC has also confirmed the departure of James Kinyanjui and Abdallah Hassan, who are out of contract, with the striker Francis Kahiro mutually terminating his contract with the Dockers and is reported to be heading back to KCB. Tony Kibwana, the CEO of Bandari, emphasized that these changes are pivotal in their pursuit of improved performance in the upcoming season, set to kick off on August 24th. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here at GBS News 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Adam Minor. Good night.